diabetics, we're taking control. Real talk, real health, that's how we roll.
What if managing diabetes wasn't a burden to endure, but an act of worship?
What if every meal you chose, every step you took, every moment of care you gave your body was actually a way of honoring God?
Not striving, not guilt, just faithfulness.
I know that might sound strange at first. We've been taught that managing diabetes is about discipline, about control, about forcing our bodies into submission.
But what if that belief, as common as it is, has been holding us back?
What if healing responds to care, not control?
That's what we're going to explore today. And by the end of this episode, I believe you'll see your body, your health, and your daily choices in an entirely new light.
This isn't about adding more pressure to your life. It's about releasing it.
This is about discovering that the God who created your body also provides a way to care for it with peace, with grace, and with hope.
So if you've ever felt exhausted by the constant demands of diabetes management, if you've ever wondered whether there's a gentler path forward, you're in the right place.
Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Welcome to the Boot Diabetics podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Derek, and today marks the beginning of something special.
This is episode 1 of a 10-episode journey we're calling the Temple series.
Over the next 10 episodes, we're going to walk together through faith, health, and daily diabetic care, but not in the way you might expect.
We're not here to give you another diet plan or exercise routine. We're not here to add more rules to your already full plate.
We're here to help you see your health through a different lens, a lens of grace, a lens of stewardship, a lens of worship.
Because here's what we believe. Your body matters to God, not because it's perfect, but because He made it, and He wants to walk with you as you care for it.
This series is built on a simple truth from Scripture. Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit.
And that's not meant to be a burden. It's meant to be an invitation.
An invitation to see your daily health choices as sacred, as meaningful, as connected to something larger than just numbers on a glucose monitor.
Throughout these 10 episodes, we'll explore what it means to tend to your body the way a gardener tends to a garden, with patience, with wisdom, with seasons of growth and seasons of rest.
We'll look at how Jesus himself modeled a rhythm of care for his physical body, how he rested, how he ate, how he walked, how he withdrew to pray.
We'll share science-backed insights that support your health without shame or pressure.
And we'll always come back to this central truth. You are not alone in this. God is with you. This community is with you, and there is hope.
So whether you're newly diagnosed or you've been living with diabetes for decades, this series is for you.
We call our listeners diabetic warriors, not because you're at war with your body, but because you have the courage to show up every single day.
And that takes strength. That takes faith. That takes a diabetic mindset.
Let's begin.
Before we go any further, I want to name something that many of us have believed for a long time.
It's a belief that sounds true. It even sounds wise, but I wonder if it's been doing more harm than good.
The belief is this: more discipline leads to better health.
And on the surface, that makes sense, right? If we just try harder, push more, control more, then surely our bodies will respond.
But what if that belief is only partly true? What if discipline without grace leads to burnout, shame, and exhaustion?
What if the pressure we put on ourselves to be perfectly disciplined is actually working against us?
I've talked to so many people who feel like failures because they can't stick to a rigid routine, who beat themselves up every time their blood sugar spikes, who carry shame like a heavy weight.
And I think that shame is not from God. I think God has a different way.
Scripture tells us, "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own, you were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your body."
That verse is from 1 Corinthians chapter 6, and for years I heard it as a command, as another expectation I needed to meet.
But what if it's actually an invitation? What if honor God with your body isn't about perfection, but about presence?
Think about it. A temple isn't a temple because it's flawless. A temple is a temple because God chooses to dwell there.
And God has chosen to dwell in you, not because you earned it, not because your A1C is perfect, but because He loves you.
So, what does it mean to honor God with a body that sometimes doesn't cooperate, with a body that requires constant attention and care?
I think it means showing up with faithfulness, not perfection. It means caring for what God has entrusted to you, even when it's hard.
It means replacing the belief that more discipline equals better health with a new belief.
A belief that says healing responds to care, not control.
Say that with me. Healing responds to care, not control.
Care is gentle. Care is patient. Care makes room for imperfection.
Control is anxious. Control is demanding. Control leaves no room for grace.
And here's the thing. Your body knows the difference.
Science actually confirms this. When we're in a state of stress and pressure, our cortisol levels rise, and elevated cortisol raises blood sugar.
But when we approach our health with gentleness and self-compassion, our nervous system calms. And a calm nervous system supports better glucose regulation.
So the shift from control to care isn't just spiritual, it's physiological.
God designed our bodies to respond to peace, to respond to safety, to respond to love.
And that's the foundation of everything we'll explore in this series. Not more rules, but more grace.
Not more striving, but more trust.
Healing responds to care, not control. Let that sink in.
One of the things I love about Jesus is how fully human he was.
We sometimes forget that. We think of Jesus as divine, which he was, but he also had a physical body. He got tired, he got hungry, he needed rest.
And the way he cared for his body teaches us so much about how we can care for ours.
Let's look at a few moments from Jesus' life, not to preach at you, but to learn from his example.
In the Gospel of John, chapter 4, we find Jesus sitting by a well in Samaria. The text tells us he sat down because he was tired from the journey.
Think about that. The Son of God, the one who created the universe, sat down because he was tired.
He didn't push through. He didn't ignore his body's signals. He rested.
And that's powerful for those of us living with diabetes, because our bodies often give us signals too, signals that we're tired, signals that we need to slow down.
But so often we ignore those signals. We push through because we think rest is weakness.
But Jesus shows us that rest is wisdom, rest is care, rest is honoring the body God gave you.
There's another moment I think about often. Jesus eating with his disciples, sharing meals with friends and even strangers.
Jesus didn't treat food as the enemy. He didn't approach meals with anxiety or guilt. He ate, he enjoyed, he connected.
Now, I know that food can feel complicated when you're managing diabetes. Every bite can feel like a calculation.
But I wonder if there's an invitation here to approach food with less fear and more gratitude, to see meals as moments of nourishment, not just numbers.
Jesus also walked. A lot. He walked from town to town, up mountains, along the sea.
Movement was woven into his daily life, not as a punishment for eating, not as a way to control his body, but as a natural rhythm.
And that's something we can embrace too. Gentle movement, a short walk after a meal. Not because we have to earn our food, but because movement supports our bodies.
Studies show that even a 10-minute walk after eating can significantly improve glucose levels. It helps your muscles use the glucose in your bloodstream.
So when Jesus walked, he was living in a way that naturally supported physical health. And we can follow that example.
There's one more moment I want to mention. Jesus often withdrew to pray. He stepped away from the crowds, from the demands, from the noise.
He created space for quiet, for connection with his Father, for renewal.
Living with diabetes comes with a constant mental load, the checking, the calculating, the worrying.
And sometimes we need to withdraw too. Not to escape our responsibilities, but to reconnect with the one who carries us.
Jesus didn't see rest, food, movement, or prayer as separate from his mission. They were part of it.
And your health isn't separate from your faith either. They're woven together.
When you rest, you're honoring God. When you eat with gratitude, you're honoring God. When you move gently, you're honoring God. When you pray, you're honoring God.
This is what it means to live with a diabetic mindset. To see every act of care as an act of worship.
And that's what diabetic warriors do. They don't fight their bodies, they steward them with courage, with patience, with faith.
Throughout this series, we're going to return to a metaphor that I believe captures something essential about living with diabetes.
It's the metaphor of a garden, God's garden.
In the very beginning, in Genesis, God placed humanity in a garden. Not in a factory, not in a gym, in a garden.
And he gave Adam a job, not to conquer the garden, not to control it, but to tend it, to care for it.
That word tend is so important. A gardener doesn't force plants to grow. A gardener creates conditions where growth can happen.
Good soil, adequate water, proper sunlight, protection from pests, and then the garden awaits.
Growth takes time. It can't be rushed. It can't be forced.
And I think our bodies are the same way. When it comes to health, we can create conditions for healing, but we can't force it.
We can choose nourishing foods. We can move gently. We can rest. We can manage stress. But ultimately, healing happens in God's timing, not ours.
That can be frustrating when you want results now, when you want your blood sugar to stabilize immediately, when you want to see change.
But a gardener understands seasons. There's a season for planting, a season for watering, a season for waiting, and a season for harvest.
Maybe you're in a planting season right now. You're just beginning to make changes. The seeds are in the ground, but you can't see anything yet.
Or maybe you're in a watering season. You're doing the daily work of care, even when it feels monotonous.
Or maybe you're in a waiting season, and that's hard, really hard.
But here's what I want you to know. Every season matters, even the ones where nothing seems to be happening.
Jesus talked about seeds often. He told parables about farmers scattering seed, about mustard seeds growing into great trees, about seeds falling on different types of soil.
The soil matters so much. You can have a good seed, but if the soil is hard or rocky or choked with weeds, that seed won't flourish.
And I think stress is like bad soil. When we're chronically stressed, anxious, or exhausted, our bodies don't respond well. Even healthy habits struggle to take root.
Science confirms this. Chronic stress raises cortisol, which raises blood sugar. It disrupts sleep, which affects insulin sensitivity. It triggers inflammation, which complicates everything.
So part of caring for your health is caring for your soil, creating an internal environment where good things can grow.
That might mean addressing stress. It might mean improving sleep. It might mean releasing bitterness or anxiety that's been weighing you down.
It might mean giving yourself permission to rest, to say no, to protect your peace.
And here's the connection to God's garden. You don't have to do this alone. The master gardener is with you.
God is the one who gives growth. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the growth. You
do your part. You plant, you water, you tend. But God is the one who brings the harvest.
And that takes so much pressure off. You're not responsible for forcing results. You're responsible for faithful care.
Let me offer you a moment of reflection right now.
Think about your body as a garden. What kind of soil are you working with right now? Is it stressed and depleted, or is it calm and nourished?
What does your garden need today? Maybe it needs water. Maybe it needs rest. Maybe it needs weeding.
And can you trust that God is at work, even in the seasons where you can't see growth?
Take a breath. Thank God for your body, exactly as it is today. Thank Him for the opportunity to tend this garden.
You are not a project to be fixed. You are a garden to be tended, and God is with you in every season.
Now let's get practical, because faith without action isn't complete, and there are real science-backed ways to support your body every day.
But before we dive in, I want to remind you of our core belief. Healing responds to care, not control.
So as we share these tips, please don't hear them as rules to follow perfectly. Hear them as invitations, as ways to care for yourself with gentleness.
Let's start with nutrition. One of the simplest things you can do for stable blood sugar is to pair protein with fiber at every meal.
Here's why that works. Protein and fiber slow down the absorption of glucose into your bloodstream. So instead of a sharp spike after eating, you get a gentler, more gradual rise.
Think of it like this. If you eat a piece of white bread by itself, the carbohydrates convert to glucose quickly. Your blood sugar shoots up.
But if you eat that bread with eggs, avocado, and some vegetables, the protein and fiber act like a buffer. They slow everything down.
Practical examples: eggs and vegetables for breakfast, chicken and a salad for lunch, fish with roasted broccoli for dinner.
You don't have to be perfect. Just aim to include protein and fiber more often than not.
Another tip: timing matters. Try to keep your meals relatively consistent from day to day. Your body thrives on rhythm.
When you eat at predictable times, your body can anticipate and prepare. It's like giving your digestive system a schedule.
Now let's talk about movement, and I want to be really clear here. Movement is not punishment.
So often we think of exercise as something we do to burn calories or make up for what we ate. But that's not a healthy relationship with movement.
Movement is a gift. It's a way of caring for your body, and it doesn't have to be intense to be effective.
One of the most impactful things you can do is take a short walk after meals. Even 10 minutes makes a difference.
When you walk after eating, your muscles use the glucose in your bloodstream for fuel. This naturally lowers your blood sugar without any medication.
It's gentle, it's accessible, and it connects you to the rhythm of rest and activity that Jesus modeled.
You can also incorporate gentle stretching, light strength training, or any movement that feels good to your body. The goal isn't exhaustion, the goal is care.
Now let's address something that often gets overlooked: stress and sleep.
We mentioned earlier that stress raises cortisol, which raises blood sugar. So managing stress isn't just good for your mental health, it's essential for your physical health.
Simple practices help. Deep breathing, prayer, time in nature, setting boundaries, saying no when you need to.
And sleep is foundational. When you don't get enough sleep, your body becomes more insulin resistant. Your hunger hormones get thrown off. Your energy tanks.
Prioritizing sleep is one of the most powerful things you can do for your health. Aim for 7 to 9 hours. Create a restful environment. Guard your bedtime.
Finally, hydration. Drinking enough water helps your kidneys flush excess glucose from your bloodstream. It supports circulation. It keeps everything functioning smoothly.
These aren't complicated strategies. They're simple, consistent acts of care.
And when you practice them from a place of grace rather than guilt, they become sustainable. They become part of your rhythm. They become worship.
We've mentioned the diabetic mindset several times today, and I want to take a moment to really explain what we mean by that.
The diabetic mindset is a posture. It's a way of approaching your health that's rooted in stewardship, not struggle.
See, when you were diagnosed with diabetes, you might have felt like you entered a battle, like your body became the enemy, like you had to fight to survive.
And in some ways, that's understandable. Diabetes requires constant vigilance. It demands attention every single day.
But the diabetic mindset reframes that. Instead of seeing yourself as fighting against your body, you see yourself as caring for it.
Instead of viewing diabetes as a curse, you see it as an invitation to live more intentionally.
That's what it means to be a diabetic warrior. Not a warrior at war with yourself, but a warrior who guards what God has given you.
A warrior who shows up with courage, even when it's hard. A warrior who practices patience, even when progress is slow. A warrior who walks in wisdom, even when the path isn't clear.
Diabetic warriors don't beat themselves up for imperfect blood sugar readings. They learn from them and move on.
Diabetic warriors don't compare themselves to others. They focus on their own journey, their own garden, their own season.
Diabetic warriors rest when they need to. They ask for help when they're struggling. They celebrate small victories.
And diabetic warriors remember this truth. Healing responds to care, not control.
When you adopt the diabetic mindset, everything changes. The daily tasks of diabetes management stop feeling like a burden and start feeling like an offering.
Checking your blood sugar becomes an act of awareness, not anxiety. Taking your medication becomes an act of stewardship, not shame.
Choosing a nourishing meal becomes an act of love, not restriction.
This is the mindset shift we're inviting you into, and it won't happen overnight. It's a journey.
But every day, you can choose to show up as a diabetic warrior. You can choose care over control. You can choose grace over guilt.
And when you do, you'll find that managing diabetes becomes lighter, not because it's easy, but because you're not carrying it alone.
God is with you. This community is with you. And you have what it takes.
We've covered a lot of ground today, and before we close, I want to lead us in a moment of reflection and gratitude.
This is one of the most important parts of the episode, because knowledge without application stays in the head, but reflection moves it to the heart.
So, I want to invite you to find a comfortable position. If you're driving, please keep your eyes on the road, but if you're able, let your shoulders drop, let your hands relax.
Take a slow breath in and let it out.
Another breath in and out.
Now I want you to think about your body. Not with judgment, not with frustration, just with awareness.
Think about everything your body has done for you today. Your heart has been beating, your lungs have been breathing, your cells have been working.
Even if your body feels imperfect, it's still showing up. It's still trying, it's still carrying you through life.
And that deserves gratitude.
So right now, silently or out loud, thank God for one thing your body did for you today.
Maybe it's the ability to get out of bed. Maybe it's the energy to care for someone you love. Maybe it's simply being here, listening to this podcast.
Whatever it is, offer it up as thanks.
Now, I want you to release something. Think about any frustration, any shame, any disappointment you've been carrying about your health.
Imagine holding it in your hands. And now imagine releasing it to God, opening your hands and letting it go.
You don't have to carry that weight. God can hold it for you.
Take another breath, and as you exhale, let go a little more.
Now I want to remind you of the new belief we're installing today. Healing responds to care, not control.
Say it with me one more time. Healing responds to care, not control.
Let that truth settle into your heart. Let it become the foundation of how you approach your health.
You are not alone. You are cared for. You are loved.
And every act of care you give to your body is an act of worship.
Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being a diabetic warrior.
As we wrap up this first episode, I want to lock in the core beliefs we've explored.
Belief number 1, your body is a temple, not because it's perfect, but because God dwells there.
Belief number 2, healing responds to care, not control. Gentleness works better than force.
Belief number 3, You are a diabetic warrior, not at war with your body, but a faithful steward of it.
Belief number 4, your health journey is like a garden. It requires patience, care, and trust in God's timing.
These beliefs will be the foundation for everything we explore in this series. So if you need to, go back and listen to this episode again. Let these truths sink deep.
Now here are 3 practical takeaways for this week.
Takeaway 1, practice care, not control. This week, notice when you're approaching your health with force or anxiety, and gently shift to care.
Takeaway 2, pair protein with fiber at 1 meal each day, just 1. Start small and build from there.
Takeaway 3, take a 5 to 10 minute walk after 1 meal. It doesn't have to be every meal, just 1. Notice how you feel.
These are small steps, but small steps taken consistently lead to transformation.
Remember, you're tending a garden, and every act of care matters.
That brings us to the end of episode 1 of the Temple series.
But this is just the beginning. There are 9 more episodes ahead, each one building on what we've started today.
In our next episode, episode 2, we're going to talk about the soil, about stress, rest, and rhythms.
We'll explore why so many diabetic warriors do everything right with food and exercise, but still struggle with their blood sugar. And the answer might surprise you.
It has to do with the soil of your life, the stress you're carrying, the rest you're not getting, the rhythms that are either supporting you or depleting you.
If you've ever felt like you're trying hard but not seeing results, episode 2 is for you.
So make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. That way, you won't miss the next episode when it drops.
And if this episode meant something to you, we'd love for you to share it. Send it to a friend who might need to hear this message. Post about it on social media.
You can also leave us a review. It helps more people find this podcast and join the community.
Speaking of community, we want to remind you about bootdiabetics.com. It's a growing library of faith-based diabetic support.
You'll find devotionals, recipes, blood sugar tracking tools, and a community of diabetic warriors walking this journey together.
You don't have to do this alone. There's a whole community waiting to support you.
Thank you for spending this time with us today. Thank you for trusting us with your attention and your heart.
You are seen. You are loved. You are not alone.
We'll see you in episode 2. Until then, remember, healing responds to care, not control.
And you, diabetic warrior, have what it takes.
Take care.
Take care.
Ooh, that's the knowledge, now you're in the know. Who diabetics, watch your wellness grow. Stay strong, stay informed, you got this life. We're with you every step, doing it right. Who diabetics poetry.